Hello, welcome to the fine edition of my so-called 8-Bit Life. I'm your host, Roberto Villegas. Joining me today,
it's DJ R.O.C.K.M.A.N again.
Vincent Banks. Not what did friend of the show.
Oh no, we got a new one now. So it's DJ Rocket League Man.
Is that what he said? Because I remember he said.
Well, there was no.
Because he had said one during. Okay, I missed the last the last show you guys performed.
Yeah, so the last show he.
But prior to that, it was Persona's CD release. And I can't remember what he had said. He might have said DJ Rocket League or something like that.
No, I wasn't Rocket League. It was something else.
I forget what it was.
Oh, no, DJ R.O.C.K.M.A.N, baby.
That's what it was. But what I loved about that moment...
DJ R.O.C.K.M.A.N, baby.
It was. I think the greatest part of that whole moment was that you gave him the side eye and just like walked off stage for like a half second. Like
I was like, well, you got somebody to mix for yourself.
Like you spin yourself now.
Yeah. You spin yourself. You doing it yourself now. It was pretty crazy.
It was hilarious, but again, it was just such a funny moment because if anybody else had been like, but like it's Quran.
But yeah, so like the latest show we had was the throwdown over there at Kickbutt Coffee, and we were joking around. I'm like, yeah, I'm DJ R.O.C.K.M.A.N, not Rocket League, not Rockabye Baby, or I was like, not DJ R.O.C.K.M.A.N, not Robo Rob, and then somebody was playing Rocket League, and they were like, DJ Rocket League. I was like, oh god dang it. I was like, damn, there's another one.
Have you ever thought of
No, I'm going to make a shirt where it's like all these names and I'm cutting them all out at the very bottom.
That's the one you need to make, yeah. No, but have you ever like even jokingly thought, and this is such an esoteric joke that I don't even know if it's worth it, where you basically go and because okay, who was it that was it Rand that got his name put wrong on a.
No, it wasn't Rand. It wasn't even him. It was somebody at the 1-to-1 that put DJ R.O.C.K.M.A.N.
That's right. It was.
But I started bringing R.O.C.K.M.A.N the song in, so I started playing it every once in a while.
That's right. I can't remember when this was, but I remember it was on one like hole in the wall. It was like and DJ R.O.C.K.M.A.N. I'm like, who the fuck is? Oh.
Yeah, they put it on. They put it on the marquee.
That's why. And I was just like, my brain is like, have you ever thought of just to, I mean, you're not big enough where you can do that. Not saying in a bad way. I mean, you're getting bigger, which is great. People are picking you up. I'm just saying in the grand scheme of like. Oh
no, I'm getting somebody to make a shirt of DJ Rocket-Man with like my logo riding a rocket.
Burning out his fuse out here alone.
Yeah, so I was gonna do that. I was gonna do that, and also I was like,
can you make sure your logo has the giant Elton John glasses?
It would look weird on his eyes. I want his eyes to show off.
That'd be amazing. Just giant fucking why? Oh, Rocket-Man. Okay, yeah. I get you.
But then on top of that, I started playing Rocket-Man only like when I know the nerdcore people that were there.
Well, I play Rocket-Man. We've talked about this before, but it's not like thanks to
for your 1-to-1.
Shit, who's the band? Oh fuck, my god, they got snubbed at the Grammys this past year, or this in the nominations at what's the band? Hip hop. Help me out.
Tribe Called Quest.
Yes, Tribe Called Quest. They have a song where they uses Benny and the Jets as the backbeats.
Yeah. That's Wall of Sound.
Right, Wall of Sound, exactly.
Wall of Sound's great song. Great song.
Well, it's funny, because I saw everyone kind of talking about that, the Grammys, them getting snubbed. I was like, but they came out 2016. I looked at the rules. Yeah, they would have totally been valid for.
No, they were valid for it.
They were valid. I didn't realize it went that far back in 2016 for what counts.
It's like late.
Yeah,
16.
I did not realize that until
because the Grammys starts like here.
No, that makes sense. I everything was like added up. I almost was like gonna make that call. Like, well, shouldn't they? So I'm like, let me look what counts. I was like, oh no, yeah, they should have been considered that.
Yeah.
Totally.
That's why a lot of people were like, wait, why did you not put Tribe on there?
I learned the rules of like, I did not realize they had gone that far back each year, and I'm like, oh shit.
Oh yeah,
because they should definitely got nominated.
They got stuff back.
They should at least got a fucking nod.
Like, yeah, because the thing is, like, De La Soul's came out right before, like. Or De La Soul's came.
Yeah, they should have definitely.
De La Soul's came out not too long ago before Tribes, and I was like, and Tribes' album was really good.
No, goddamn, Tribes was fucking amazing. It's one. I mean, when that came out, I purchased it, and then I ended up buying it on vinyl when it came out on vinyl because I was like, I want to have this on vinyl. But yeah, no, it's an amazing album, and it's. I didn't real like. it was one of those ones I didn't even realize would have been up for would have been considered for a Grammy because my brain didn't think about like all the, I really
it depends. Like I said, it's okay. It depends on the day because a lot of people think of just literally the year,
right? That's why. That's why I literally just thought of the year, and I then looked at the info. I was like, no, I am way off.
Like think about it. I always tell people like think about like the Grammys or any kind of nominations, just like if you think of Madden or a certain fighting game or a certain sport. That's like 2018, but it's like, wait, it's not 2018 yet, but it's like, we got to roll.
Speaking of fighting games.
Which one?
Did you see the game? Did you see the Game Awards at all?
Yeah, Soul Calibur's back.
Yeah, how did you, like, it's funny because when the announcements started coming in for like games, and that one came up, I was like.
Remember, it came, okay, so Soul Calibur. Yeah, Soul Calibur trailer did come up on the Game Awards, but then they did another trailer at the Experience.
Well, I'm excited on, like, this is what's great now about game development and the fact that you don't really have to pay for a while to just fuck around with the Unreal Engine, and the idea that nobody wants to make their own engine anymore, which is great.
Yeah. Well, I mean, think about it.
Well, because I'm excited to see that in the UE4 engine. Like I want to see.
Tekken 7 is in UE4 engine too, and it's really good.
No, that's why I could not be more thrilled that people are not just carrying, or just saying, fuck it, we'll just use Unreal. Fuck it, we'll just use Unreal. Not in a because it's a great engine and that's great for Unreal, but I'm just excited because that means like they don't have to fuck around with like a decent graphical engine anymore.
Well, I'm just more worried about the gameplay concept because 5 was bad.
I didn't play 5.
5 wasn't that good. Because of what they did with the meter. The meter was really weird. But now they're saying like the meter is going to be more like a Tekken-based meter, like the Rage Art meter, which is good because Rage Art meter is very easy, very simplistic, and you can do your damage. You can use your special whenever you need to. If you only in your rage, but you only get it once, Okay, it's that kind of rule. So it's good.
I'm curious because and this is not even because neither game. So when I say this, I'm prefacing with this fact. Both games are still technical, even if I'm saying this. In that they're complex games. I've always viewed Tekken as a more technical 3D fighter. What I mean by that is this, and this is sort of what I mean by technical. When you look at the moveset of a Law in Tekken, is it Law that has like the multiple like stances and shit like that, right?
No, that's Lei.
Lei, sorry, I always forget. And you have different moves within different stances. That to me adds a level of like of hyper complexity. Sometimes that's not to say that there isn't any complexity in
well, let me tell you though.
Okay.
When Tekken first came out was more of still a 2D base.
Okay.
Soul Calibur started 8-way runs.
No, yeah, I think where Soul Calibur really
when it was Soul Edge, but even with Soul Edge, it was an 8-way run, which was not built within any 3D fighter.
No, I think that's sort of why, like, what I liked about the Soul games as a 3D fighter was this is sort of like This is why like something like Brawl is very, very, very approachable from a novice standpoint. There is still complexity, and there is still this, there's still an interesting moveset. Like this is not to say that you can't be skilled and have that, but in the grand scheme of things of a Smash Brothers game, you have a jump and you have a hit. Now, you can still do complex stuff with that. There's still the kind of movesets, whatever, but there's not a whole lot of crazy button combinations a new player has to learn.
Oh, no, yeah.
I mean, you can still...
For a new player, you do have to learn because you still got to learn dash, you still got to learn dodge.
Those are... I guess what I'm saying is that, like, it's like when it came to...
I would put it like this, because Smash is a little harder to try to, like, compared to a Soul Calibur game.
Right.
Tekken was a lot easier for novice players because, yes, you can
well, no, I don't mean Tekken was. I mean, actually, Soul Calibur was a lot more... In that, like, I have played a Tekken game, And the only one that I've even felt like, okay, maybe I could even kind of learn was Tekken Tag, and that's like so far back, and that's only because you can do some button mashing with Eddie.
You can button mash.
But I will say this: when it came to Soul Calibur, I felt that even though it still is a complex system, this is not me saying it's not complex. I keep trying to stress that it's more of that. I feel that even though I lost in as a billion 20 different Soul Calibur games against my friends, I never not had fun, and I never not felt that I could at least in some way learn this. Yeah. It's sort of like being given. It's a difference between a Street Fighter 2 and the new Blaze Blue, where you're kind of thrown in this game and you have like all these different complex, interesting systems.
Yeah.
Meaning that you have parries and thrusts and shields and whatever the hell. I forget. I haven't played Blade Blues in a while, but it's having all this like hyper complexity that makes an interesting system. It makes for a very cool chess puzzle to play.
Yeah. And that's what
but it's like when you see a new guy, think like, what the fuck do I do with all these damn meters?
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying though. It's the same way with Soul Calibur.
Right.
Soul Calibur was your technical game compared to Tekken early stages because Tekken didn't have 8-way runs.
Okay.
You could not go side to side. You can do 8-way runs until Tekken 3.
Okay.
So Edge already had 8-way runs.
Right.
It had counters. It had
all these things.
It had a lot of complexity within the game, plus learning movesets, especially depending on who you played. They had different styles. And then like, for example, like when Soul Calibur.
I'll be honest, I didn't jump into Soul Calibur like Soul Calibur 4.
Yeah, see, and if you jumped into Soul Calibur, Ivy was probably by far your most complex character because she had different moves depending on how you use, if you use straight sword or chain whip.
Right, okay.
So you had those, but that's what I'm saying, like, it was built on a lot of stuff. That's when Tekken 3 was like, all right, we're going to use our 8-way run that we have.
Yeah, we're going
to use 8-way run the same way we use here, but it's not as fluent as Soul Calibur, because Soul Calibur, if you barely tap down, you will move all the way to the right.
Yeah, and that's
you move all the way to the left.
And that's sort of the thing is that, like, to me, that game understood it's in a 3D space, and that's kind of why I say it felt more approachable.
That's what I'm saying, because that was 3D. Yeah. Old school Tekken was 2.5.
Yeah, okay, that I'll give you. That makes sense.
It was almost like Street Fighter.
Yeah, because you could like sidestep, and that's about really all you could do.
You can sidestep ish. Like first one, you couldn't sidestep at all. Second one, you could a little bit. You could sidestep.
Right, like 3.
Yeah, like you could sidestep, but it like you had to hit hard to sidestep. Like
right, you had to deliberately say, I want to, I want to sidestep out of the way.
And so that's why looking at it, like Soul Calibur is complex. On top of that, getting juggled, you can move while in air, getting juggled so you don't ring out. That was another complexity that like people thought like if you get juggled, you're like, oh, I can't do shit. Like Tekken, you get juggled, you can't move left and right in the air. Soul Calibur is like, oh, I'm getting poked. No, let me like float my body to the left.
And that's sort of like that's the like, and I guess when I say like technical, I mean it's like you're not, as a new player, you're not scared by it. Like the one thing that like because I play fighting games. I'm not competitive about it, and I still enjoy them. But I always look at these things and go like, wow, that's really cool. I wonder what this what this focus meter does. What this thing is. Why would you have this red stuff? What is that? I'll look into that stuff, whatever. But I know that if it there's a reason why like people play Injustice now. I mean, it's not that you can't have complexity on. I guess it's the idea.
I mean, Injustice. It's complex. I can't stand Injustice.
I guess it's the idea of this. It's the idea of how do you make, because like there are games that are they have the term easy to learn how to easy to learn, difficult to master, and I think like that's where I say non-technical, meaning I don't even know, maybe that's not the right term. Maybe not.
Well, because the thing is, it's hard to try to throw that down for
right. Maybe let's just say.
No, because
crazy Japanese.
Like understanding the mechanics within the game. That's the biggest thing for a lot of novices players. Not like just people that want to learn. What does this do? What does this do? And that's why a lot of new games now start doing training where it's like, this is it. Time this, time that. Even in Guilty Gear, like it'll time you on like, hey, this is how you block.
Right.
But I'm gonna have somebody punch and block you. 3, 2, 1, block.
Right.
You know?
And I think that's that's useful. I guess what I'm trying to say is I find it very, very refreshing when a game can do that without having here's a tutorial. Like they can just sort of drop you in and because again, I think anybody can play a Smash Brothers. I'm not saying that everybody's.
Oh no, I'm not saying that either.
Right. It's more of that anyone can play a Smash Brothers. By far, it can still get fucking competitive as hell, and god damn it, you can have a lot of people doing amazing kind of stuff in those games. What I find very appreciative of a Smash Brothers is that anybody can come in and play the game.
Yeah,
it's not going to.
And that's what a lot of good amount of games do. But also remember, like how you will first come into an arcade and play the fighting game.
Right.
When I first started back in my younger years, yes, my younger years, playing Street Fighter didn't even have command input, tell you how to do command input.
Right, you had to kind of guess.
You had to guess. So when you're like, oh, I did this, let me try to redo that again.
Right, and that's for sure fair.
That's the same way. That's the same way.
But at the very least, you knew you had.
But there was no tutorial.
Right. But when it came to but that's what I mean by that is that when you got to the game, you saw that there was 3 punches, 3 kicks.
Well,
and now special moves is sort of the.
But let me tell you.
Yeah.
Remember, it didn't say them as like 3 punches, 3 kicks. It was like fierce roundhouse.
Right. And you could push it and see it, but I guess what I'm trying to say is that, let's say for example, you and I are completely new to Street Fighter.
Yeah.
Playing even field. One of us will discover a move. That's fine. That's going to happen.
Yes.
But it's the idea that you still were able to approach the game. In other words, you didn't just see that or you saw in other words, you approach for example, if you're a new guy player, as Street Fighter, and there's 2 expert players playing, you may not play that round. You may just watch and say, "Wow, that's really cool. What can be happening? That's an interesting game." Whatever.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's always
right.
And that will
it's
be.
It's the idea of and this is sort of like the arcade. There's a.
Well, also we gotta look at this time frame compared to our past, where we were
sure.
we didn't give a shit. We wanted to try it out because that was the hot stuff.
Right. No. Exactly. Like now,
was the hot shit.
The concept of the arcade is kind of a weird. It's a weird thing.
It's either it's like me that like to play constantly,
because I was
or the people that are brand new that are like.
I've said sort of before, but I was at at the Sega arcade in Tokyo, and a lot of the machines there, had literally an input that was you put your hand and there's a left click and a right click and it kind of moves like this. I'm like, that's just a damn mouse. Why am I not playing a computer right here? And it literally had a keyboard attached to it. I'm like, why the. My brain was like, oh, we're just playing fucking PC games now. Great, this is awesome. Not in a bad way, but just this is where it's come down to, that the arcade was at. Or you come to more American arcades now, and I put this in quotation marks because we
have one,
right? Well, there are that, but even what people would think of as an arcade now is like a Dave and Buster's, where it's there may be these racing games that are a Need for Speed or something like that. There might be a Golden Tee. And there's a bunch of ticket redemption things, and that's fine. And all your ticket redemption things are now based off mobile games like Flappy Bird or fucking other properties. This is not me criticizing. This is more me putting out there. But it's rare, especially here in the West, unless you're going to a very, very special place, designated as special place.
Yeah,
that you'll see a oh shit, they got the new Blaze Blue. It's like
Arcade UFO.
Right. Well, it's here in Austin, but there are other places in LA as well.
Well, you have some Arcade Los Angeles. You have New York.
Exactly.
The thing is, yes, you're gonna have those designated spots, but those are for the hardcore gamers.
Right. And even in Japan, those places, I think the only place we saw, I didn't even go in, but we kind of just heard the noises. We were just kind of scared to go in. I was kind of scared to go in because I didn't want to go in there and be the one random American. And
see, I will walk in there and not give it a.
No, fuck. I think I wouldn't want. I think in hindsight, I wanted to go back, but I was with my friend Claudia, and we're just kind of I think we found a bar, and she was like, let's just get some food instead. And I didn't even know what to expect because it was literally it was downstairs.
Yeah,
in a basement kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know if I want to, because and not because I don't want to roll in there, just like I don't even, I wasn't quite certain protocol.
Well, no, and that's the thing I found.
I think I'll go back. I think if I go back, I'd go back again.
When I went to Japan like a long time ago, there was an arcade spot like that. But yeah, it was downstairs. But they had like all the games that I wanted to play before they came out in the U.S. Like Arcana Hard and like Arcana Hard 3 during that time and a whole bunch of other games. I'm like, oh, cool! I get to play here, get to practice with some players, and just play.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing is that
but don't forget. The arcade scene is still strong there compared to
for sure.
arcade
But
scene.
anyways, the idea behind and this is sort of something I that you learn when you get in emulation, and I love that we made a complete diatribe into emulation and stuff like that. I'm just seeing what time is.
Oh, you're good.
So within the arcade, this is something that at least I know it's called, and I guarantee you've seen it. My favorite concept of an arcade machine now is the attract modes.
Yeah.
So attract mode, for those you probably don't know what this is, or you may not have known it's called this. You might know it as demo or whatever, but typically attract mode, you can turn this off in an arcade if you want, but usually it's fun to keep it on. Is when you see the arcade play itself.
Yeah.
And usually it's or it does something cool, like within like Street Fighter's attract mode typically is the literally the street fight, the dude where you just see that.
Yeah, you have the music playing real loud,
and it's just like two guys at the bottom, and it's like these aren't even characters in the game; they're just literally having a street brawl because fuck it, it's Street Fighter 2, whatever. I still think my favorite attract mode is. I
love Third Strike's attract mode. It was so cool.
I enjoyed
Third Strike attract mode.
Either with Alpha or it was Super Street Fighter 2. The new class, or whatever the fuck they called it.
The new challengers.
The challengers.
New
class is Saved by the Bell.
Turbo was really good because they did have that, it had Ryu bouncing.
Yeah, it had Ryu bouncing and then doing a Duke into the screen.
But I like Third Strike because Third Strike had that hip hop song. Well, Third Strike was like drum and bass and hip hop, which is a great soundtrack.
Well, they had like that. What was the? Because that was all drum and bass.
Like it was hip hop. It was like the stage select was hip hop, and then the intro was hip hop. But yeah, everything else is like drum and bass, except for Dudley's stage, which was house.
Well, because that was the introduction of who I would say are almost the as weirdly as it sounds, the most hip hop esque characters. Is it Yin and Yang? What is it?
Yang and Yun.
Yeah, Yang and Young.
Well, Young had the hat. And he skateboarded. Yang was the rollerblader.
But of course, it was the early 2000s or 90s, whatever. It's fine.
But still,
but even then, like they always felt like they're. I mean, I know their martial arts styles, traditional martial arts. I forget what style they fought in. It always felt like they were doing more of like the dance of like they were aware of this hip hop culture versus anyone else in the game. And not because anyone else wasn't aware of this being there.
Well, the thing was, they wasn't even more in a hip hop culture. They were actually they were still more dressed in their
they were for sure
traditional style.
But it just to me it always I guess it might have been the skateboards and rollerblading and they're just
that's what I'm saying. Like the skateboard rollerblading introduction. Yeah,
it's like okay these are and not to criticize it.
Oh no, they're
it's my favorite character's a freaking XM Bison clone type thing that was brainwashed and.
Oh yeah,
when you look at the storyline of Cammy's, it's all fucking weird.
Oh, and they're coming out with the 30-year edition, right?
I saw that. Yeah, that trailer. That's sort of why I wanted to kind of lead into it.
That trailer, the trailer was so beautiful.
It's
every Street Fighter game, even one with the shittiest controllers. Street Fighter 1.
That's gonna. I have the ROM for that,
and they're gonna have it on Switch.
Yeah, that's gonna be an interesting one to look back on, specifically Street Fighter 1. Because
it was so bad.
Well, I mean, it's a freaking.
No,
No. I mean, so
I remember playing it in an arcade and looking at the controller. The controller was ass.
No.
Inputs were terrible.
The
game was so.
We
shit.
had it's so funny looking back.
So shit.
It's so funny looking back at arcades from that era.
Oh, well, no, that like.
Well, no, because
think about that transformation though.
Well, I know, and I think that's what's interesting about arcades in that era, especially the arcades that were pitched to Americans of that era.
Well,
in that this is what I mean. In that we like it almost felt at times that from the Japanese point of view, we were an afterthought from the development side and a pro thought from the actual like we want to make money side. Only because like you've played some of those games, right? Like one of my favorite games, if you ever want to look this up, find it on either the ROM or find a long play of it and you can watch this. One of my favorite concepts of an arcade game existing and how ridiculously complex that game is for what it should be is Bubble Bobble.
Oh yeah.
Like, do you know how to actually get the full bullshit ending? The way you get the full bullshit ending, folks, if you've ever wanted to play Bubble Bobble in the arcade, first off, you have to play it with 2 players. Second off, you have to like get this like super mode code by like getting certain things and decoding like it's bizarre because it's like the translation's like ass, and I don't mean like it's kind of like it's ass. It is garbage translation. It is you know. It is somebody basically took the Japanese and maybe machine translated it, probably didn't really give a shit, just tried to give what it is I think the joke term is English, like it is English. It is horrible, and it's amazing horrible because you'll watch it, you look at it, and it's just like save whatever, like why what all that mean? And it's like, can you decode puzzle game? Like, I don't know what the fuck that means, and it literally is here's and I think you decode the puzzle and you eventually find out it says something even more English, and it says like, look, put this fucking button combination in, you can kind of get the super mode and actually maybe try to win, or like look, jackass, you gotta play with both players, and it's like, all right, fine, fuck it, okay. Yeah. And the ending is like, oh cool, we turned human and we rescued our girlfriends. All right, yeah, that's great, but the point being is that was the level of fucks they gave to at some point appeal to the American audience.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It really wasn't.
It doesn't mean that there wasn't any good games though.
No, it wasn't that. It was the thing was now like you got to think about like
Street Fighter, yeah.
Well, no, you got to think about like our generation or the generation now of like 2017 of how all games are being released at the same time.
Yes,
and trying to keep within competition
for sure. I'm really curious
But in the past, where Japan was like, when arcades back in the 80s were popular for both sides, they were already making a buku amounts of money.
Yeah.
And they wasn't really worrying about localization.
That sort of thing. That's what I mean. They weren't really worried about localization because it wasn't like, really because who cares? Americans are just pop quarters in there. Who give we're going to sell these we're selling these as coin ops for
Street Fighter just in general.
Yeah.
First Street Fighter was straight.
No, one was terrible. One was a terrible
it was a terrible game. Like
it was a like put quarter in. How do I do what now? Because you literally would fumble, because it was basically the idea behind Street Fighter 1 is that you played as
Ryu. You played as Ryu, and you went on and you fought all the warriors.
Right. There was really no like if like the Street Fighter of now.
I mean, there was a story. There was a story within that. I'm saying
like the story was no more complex than like a Double Dragon of that time, where it was where somebody stole your. I'm saying.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like it was Ryu being Ryu like he always is.
Right.
Being a road warrior.
Right.
And fighting people to be the best.
Right, exactly. I'm saying like that as that was as complex as that story it was then. Whereas now,
Ryu's still doing the same damn thing.
Ryu's still doing the same
but
thing.
He's trying to make sure that he's not trying to go evil. And that's
right, exactly. There's this dark,
the Dark Hado,
the Dark Hado. Then there's this weird thing with M. Bison, and then we've got the Xiaolong bullshit. Like there's a lot of other shit.
Well, see the thing. No, I'm saying though,
not a bad way.
You did get a lot of the complexity.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Literally right after when 2 came out, because every you wanted to play as every character. And
right. Every character has a moveset, whatever, but you could go. Yeah.
Everybody had their own ending. So, like, when you played as Ryu.
Right,
like,
you want to beat the game as Ryu.
You beat the game, but then he's walking off wanting to learn more and get stronger. Then you had Guile, like he was about to kill Bison, but his family comes in and stops him, and he goes home and be a family man.
Let's go home and be family man.
Yeah, he goes home and be family man. Then you had Chun-Li. She finally beats Bison and goes to her father's grave. Talk.
I will say this. I did like how in later Street Fighters that they gave like Chun-Li actually a really cool. Like I like the fact that they made Chun-Li an Interpol agent.
Yeah,
that was like my favorite part of like Chun-Li's character now. I was like, she's Interpol now. That's even more badass. Yeah, she's actually legit can arrest people.
She was Interpol in Alpha, like the actual Alpha series itself.
Yeah, she can actually arrest people now.
Yeah, but what was really cool was
she has a reason to be infiltrating. What
was really cool? her and Chun-Li always had beef with each other early in the stages, in the early games. But after the Alpha series and Rose helped out Cammy and got her out of her brainwashing statement, they became like best buds.
Well, yeah, because like Cammy now is part of like again.
She's part of Delta Red,
right? Which I think is a subsection of like the Royal like one of the English military.
Well, she was in Delta Red. What was crazy was in Street Fighter 2, she was in Delta Red still, but when the Alpha series kicked in, that's when she had gotten into Bison's being Bison's puppet. Right. That's when you have like June and Jolie, and all those other the dolls. I read the comics as well, so I'm
no. That's why. Yeah, that's why.
I'm very deep in detail.
This is where it gets it gets confusing and
it gets complexity. And like Alpha started making it complex,
right? And that sort of thing. That's why I'm like, if you both. That's why when you go be interesting to see Street Fighter again. Like I think the interesting thing of that collection is going to be being able to see in a like because one of the fun things to do in like with a lot of these anthology collections, especially like the Mega Man one that came out recently and all of them, is to see kind of how a game progressed. Because Mega Man 1, like it's like one of my favorite artifacts of time, and one of like the weird things like that I know came up in a dev discussion there, and someone said, well, it's got to have this, is points in Mega Man 1. Because the points mean nothing.
No, points were...
And it's like somebody said in the development team, well, it's got to have points. I mean, everything else we make has points. Why wouldn't it have points? Like that's why I'm like, it's like, that being there, like, that's weird.
I noticed that. I was like, well, and that's what I'm saying. Like, all first games started off like...
Right, that's why.
Okay. Because then when 2 came out, 2 was just straight fire.
Right.
Like,
well, there are points in 2.
But it was... But other than that, everything else
and
was
eventually we started dropping the concept of like, I still think that they're like the only game that even remotely had a reason for points, and it's such a weird thing if you think about it now. Like, the reason why a fighting game has points is if you want to make sure you have something to use as a credit to unlock things. Like, and I say unlock things, I don't mean like unlock characters. I don't even mean unlock costumes, because that's now DLC content. I mean like unlock concept art or...
see, it was
that's even becoming kind of part of the wayside too.
It was different. It was different for like, for example, Street Fighter, especially for arcades. Like when doing arcade mode,
right?
You didn't have your points, but it was to show the arcade who was the boss.
Oh yeah. You had a high score, and the high score, and they had ways of like, okay, you finish faster, you have more time at. There are reasons why you would have a score. But it's so weird from like I want to see the ending kind of thing, and that's why I always find like especially with Mega Man, that's the more interesting thing, because it's like, this is your first console outing, you don't need points. Oh wait, that's right, this is during the era of gaming when points were still viewed as something, and that's all. It's less about,
because like just like Tekken. So like Tekken 3 was doing, or I wouldn't say Tekken 3, say Tekken 5. Tekken 5 they started doing money concept. Yeah. So like when you win arcade, you'll get a whole bunch of money, but that money you spent on was for costumes and spinning for your in-game currency, but
Right, exactly.
You spend it for
for those kind of things. And I think that's where you have that's where that stuff comes in now. It's becoming less and less because now you're having. Because of the way games and service kind of taking off as the current business model, it's like, wow, just fucking put that as DLC instead.
Well, no, see, Tekken 7 still does it.
Right, and then again, okay.
And what's really great about it is it does it where you get to unlock all the movies from every single Tekken. So you get Tekken Tag Tournament 2,
that's
videos,
cool.
the endings.
That's kind of cool.
I mean, literally from Tekken 1 all the way to now.
Honestly, that's kind of what is going to like.
And I feel like Soul Calibur is going to do the same thing.
Well, because I think I'll put it this way: I'm the things that are making me excited for the anthology collection. I mean, I'm glad all the games are going to be there, but I'm wondering, and this would be really interesting if they do it, only because I'd be really curious. I would love to see that they have the especially for your Street Fighter 2 and all that stuff, like to have the different versions of that game. Not just two, the New Warriors. I don't mean that. I mean here's the Super Nintendo 2.
Well,
or here's the arcade 2 and here's the Genesis 2. If nothing, or at least on a soundtrack level, because
they're gonna have the way it's doing it is for example, the games that they haven't. So there's 12. So there's Street Fighter 2, Turbo,
Tournament Edition, I think.
No, Championship Edition.
Oh, Championship Edition, right.
So Championship Edition, which is arcade, because they're doing the arcade perfect concepts. So they're doing all the arcade bases. So
okay.
Street Fighter 2, Street Fighter Hyper Fighting, Championship Edition, Street Fighter Turbo, or Hyper Fighting, and then you have Super, then Super 2 Turbo, then Alpha 1, Alpha 2, Alpha 3,
and
then Street Fighter 3 Double Impact, and then Third Strike. So you're even getting those Street Fighter 3s.
I would honestly, because there's certain things that I haven't seen in so long for those games. I'd love to see one of the things I enjoyed a ton about.
They were showing frame data. If you looked in a trailer, they were showing for example, Sagat in Street Fighter 2. But then showing him in Championship Edition and how he looked, but it was different styles of frames.
Well, that's the one thing I really dug about Street Fighter 2 HD Remix was that you could actually they gave a shit too, and they had analyzed each one of the games, and they had said all right, cool. Well, if you want the frame data from our updated version, here's this one. If you want to kind of have it to have this specific
go
esoteric,
classic, you can go to classic to new,
right? This esoteric frame thing that unless you were really expert knew what the hell it was, it didn't matter.
But the only problem was the hitboxes in the game were really good.
Yeah, we could argue about that game entirely. I like the game for what it was because the thing
I was happy they brought it back.
The thing I was really excited for that game was that a lot of OC Remix guys made the soundtrack, and that was really cool from a
No, I like the remix.
From a fan point of view.
No, trust me, I like the music and I like the remix.
And the animation style is great. I'm sorry.
That was Udon. That was an Udon style.
They do the comics, don't they?
Yeah, they do the comics. I didn't like Bison's face. Bison's face was the weird. Bison's face by far was the weirdest thing in the Udon comics. No, like I said, it was good. The artwork and everything was good. It was just they messed up the hitboxes on characters.
The other thing that would be really kind of cool to see, and is I really hope that they get a lot of interesting archival stuff from those things.
Oh no, that's one thing. They're doing a lot of.
Whoever they gave, whoever they got to do the work for all the, not just the Mega Man ones, but the Disney. The Disney Afternoon Capcom games, the NES ones.
I think that was Udon.
Yeah, I forget whoever. Well, the not the new one, but the collection of all the NES, Darkwing Duck and Chip. They put a lot of interesting not just the concept animations, the character art, but they put a lot of the arcade fly, the advertisements and the Famicom box. And I'd love especially to see, because this is one thing.
And I think that's what I'm saying with the illustrations, all that stuff. That's what.
Well, because like back then in arcades, like we never saw this because we weren't fucking arcade owners. But there'd be these like flyers that they'd give out to arcades, like buy our fucking cabinet for your goddamn store that you go to these trade shows and see them. I would love to see if they have some of those left over. To see like what
and that's what they were showing
what the market
in the trailer.
That's why I would
saying in the trailer. That's what they were showing. They were showing illustrations for like flyers and certain like wall concepts and stuff.
Yeah, I'd love to see the marquees. I'd love to see marquee art.
Like that's what they're gonna have. Like
the marquee art,
have, like the
so
marquee
cool.
arcade arts and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so
that's what excites me. For
like
this.
championship edition is supposed to look all like the championship arcades.
Like that's stuff that excites me because I'm like that's kind of cool because that as a kind of video game historian, archivist, and a guy that
like they even supposed to have like an CRT kind of concept.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, there's some fun. Like there's some things you can do that will be. I mean, the game will be fun. Having a netcode, I'm assuming is gonna be tight. And that's
well, I hope so.
Well, that's the hope and dream. But
we hope that if they get Iron Galaxy to do netcode, it'll be great because Iron Galaxy netcode was really good for Third Strike on 360 and PS4 or PS3 at that time.
Right, exactly.
So they would need that GGPO kind of style.
I think they'll. I mean, they've.
5 is not that good. Like their netcode is not that good. And the thing is,
I haven't played Net 5, so I can't. I mean, I've heard issues with it, but
like it's like they fixed it a lot more than what it was in first season. First season was bad.
Well, the hard part about the difficult part of this,
we already talked about this. We talked about this a while back. The frames on fighting games are a lot different from frames in shooters and stuff like that.
Oh no! The real difficulty actually is, especially with this.
Not frames, I mean inputs.
No. It's not even the real difficulty for this is that a lot of those games, like you have advantage of a Third Strike. You already have kind of some code you can base it off of.
GGPO.
Right. What I mean is that like when Street Fighter 2, because it's not like it's not like they're going to recode the game. They're just gonna try their best to make an emulator, which is fine.
Well, no. The thing is, like I said, like Street Fighter Hyper Fighting already has like an online base because they had it on 360.
Then that's fine. Okay. Then those should be fine.
But that's what I'm saying. The only games that they're putting online is Hyper Fighting, Turbo, Alpha 3, Third Strike.
Okay.
Which already have a internet base game. But once again, it's what it is making your new map inputs for Switch.
No. Yeah.
Your map inputs for your certain fighting games, but it's who are you going to run it with? Because, for example, Third Strike was GGPO, which the rollback was not as harsh as whatever net code that they're using now, or whoever's running their server base.
Right.
Where like their rollback is terrible.
I guess what I mean is that, like when you develop a fighting game now, you hopefully develop in whether it's successful or not, whether it's good or not. We'll just put that to the side now as the argument. In other words, I say put that aside now as a that is.
No, that is important now.
Well, no, I guess I mean this is that you hopefully develop your netcode in tandem with your current code.
Well, and see, that's what they can't do because, for example, Ultra Street Fighter 4 netcode was really good. 5, you had to develop.
Is Street Fighter 4 in the collection too?
No,
okay, that's what I thought.
No, it's all the
old ones, right?
It's all the classics. Because Ultra you can still get on PS4.
Right, that's what I thought. Well, and that's sort of.
But their netcode is really good. And it doesn't have It doesn't have as much rollback issues as 5. Also, a lot of fighting games doing now. Like for example, the Street Fighter EX series.
Yeah.
Fighter Layer EX is out right now for beta.
Oh, okay.
And that's what I've been playing recently too.
Okay, so
it has like they got Skullomania, they got some of the
crazy shit.
Yeah, some of the characters are back. I've been playing that. Their netcode they're working on because it's beta. You have to work on it now before you launch it because especially if a ton of people are going to buy that game.
I guess that's a good point, yeah.
Because the thing is, if a ton of people are going to buy that game, number one,
I guess what I mean is that like when Street Fighter 4, when a modern fighting game is developed now, you're developing it with the mind that there's going to be netcode. In that you know that that in the roadmap of your feature sets, there's going to be an online play.
Yeah.
Meaning, like when Street Fighter 2, let's just, when those games were originally made, either for arcade or for SNES, netcode wasn't a concept.
Understandable.
And that's the only. It's sort of like the same challenge that like something like Windjammers would had is that how do you basically implement netcode in a game that thinks of things in a hyper frame real, and not saying fighting games don't have that either. They do.
No.
And that's where you can see bad netcode, and when it's really good, it's like holy shit, it's really fucking good.
But the thing is, they learn because you know what Windjammers use? GGPO.
Yeah, that's true.
Because who did a netcode for it? GGPO.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There's no ifs, ands, or buts. GGPO.
No, it's fine, and that's why, and that's the thing is that like if that's the team that's handling it, then we're fine.
But once again, when GGPO was used, a lot of people didn't know that. Hey, my emulator of Third Strike I can play on GGPO, or I can play on what is it? I think it's arcade something. It's arcade something that they have online where you can use their system, and like if you have that emulator game, everybody that has it online can play it now. So like if I wanted to play Alpha 2, I can play Alpha 2 online right now with a couple of people because they have that copy. They have the same actual legit copy, and we're running off of a GGPO. Even though it feels like we're playing an arcade,
right? I got you.
We're playing two different places, but you'll get rollback time just like any other fighting game. But what I'm saying is now. And a lot of companies starting to do it. Like I said, Fire Layer EX is doing their beta right now because you have to, if people are going to buy your game, you have to push it to your max potential, and you have to give everybody that beta. Like, hey, and this is an open beta too.
Yeah, especially if you want to, especially now if you have a what we like to call client server architecture. Basically, you have like me player's client. I talk to servers somewhere in the web or web.
Yeah.
That then other client talks to, and that this client, because basically the way it works, especially this is how you avoid like so in online games, this is where you have like the weird ghosting sometimes and the weird like fire bullet that comes out of nowhere.
Yeah,
it's that the server is sort of the brain of it all, meaning that like you player hit input, it then tells me that you hit input, as opposed to the client telling me you that, because that avoids cheating and stuff like that. But I am really, really curious. Again, I'm just curious because how they'll do it, because I'm fascinated by the idea of like adding online features to older games, because like that's kind of cool.
Yeah. Well, like I said, and you can still keep a little bit of the concepts that they have from their previous, like from their past.
And especially they've had prior netcode and they've done it before. They might just kind of base it off that and sort of, I say base off because it's all the kind of, new APIs. They may have new kind of ways of doing things, new server architectures. That kind of stuff.
Especially since like PS4 is not using the same controller sticks, or hey, we're gonna put latency on your PS4, or like you got a PS3 sticks but you connect to your PS4. Certain games can use latency controllers, so you're like, oh, I don't have to spend that money to buy another PS4 controller,
right? Exactly,
for arcade sticks and stuff like that. So you have to get that. You have to. That read off that too, because that's a very unique thing. Like Street Fighter 5, you can do the same thing where, hey, I don't have a PS4 stick, but hey, I can turn on latency controller and use my old PS3 controller, play online with it, and it still responds just right.
Right, exactly, and that is.
But the biggest thing is trying to make your server crash. Like
right,
example,
well, that's why
Monster Hunter World. Holy shit!
Well, that's because you're trying. Like ultimately, your mission is. When you're beta test, especially when you're doing an online game, and we've talked about this a lot with a lot of our dev friends on the show and stuff like that. I always make the exact same joke. Whenever like someone like on Game Sutra, hey there, people in the chat room.
What up?
But I always make the same comment because it's a fun comment to make. Is this? It's like someone's like, I got a great idea for an MMO. I go, that's awesome. Have you thought about databases yet? Data what? How about server architecture? But I have cool. No, you don't understand. There's all these. These are the actual things that make MMO work, and it has nothing to do with your client. It's all about this data, and it's funny. And so I'm like, when it comes to like online games like Street Fighter stuff, I'm like, I'm always impressed when they work well, because it's this delicate balance of this, and especially a fighting game, because fighting games
inputs are harder.
Well, they are, and we've talked about this before, and prior times they are. If you're at a point where you're counting frames, and you have the concept of a cancel, that then if you think of all the things that go into making a fighting game, and then understand that all those things are packets of data that eventually have to get it to some server, and that server has to then send it to another one, because if it doesn't send it to the other one, there's to avoid cheating, all these sort of things that go into avoid cheating on any of those games. I'm always amazed, like this, how can this not break? And when it does break, it does, and people are like pissed off, and it's like this delicate balance. And so that's why I'm really, really curious how. Because the same thing with Windjammers. I was like, I wonder how they'll do that, because these games were not, developed with the idea of there being a netcode concept.
But you can build.
You can
build within a netcode. You're just
right, and again, and to that, it's like that's reverse engineering the game, and I'm like, that's fascinating to me. Like all that is super fascinating.
That's what I'm saying. Like
obviously you're excited because you get to fucking play. You get to play like half these games again.
Oh yeah. Like I want to go back all to my Alpha series again.
Like that's your excited. Like I'm excited from like a historical point. All this.
No, don't get me wrong.
Like,
I want to do that too. No, I want to do that too. But I do want to get back into like playing my like Alpha games, because I was a big Alpha fan, especially like right when first Alpha came out on PS1.
Well, I never got into the Alpha series, sadly. But
series is so good.
I know. I've
like
heard
the moves. So what I would say, watch this like when you have free time. Watch Too Old, Too Furious. So
go on.
No, seriously, that is a legit tournament. So it's run by Sabin from Team Spooky.
Okay.
And what he does is he brings back all the old school games. So he brings back Street Fighter Alpha. Everybody plays Alpha 2. They play Street Fighter EX 2.
Okay.
They play ST, but they play Street Fighter 2 Turbo X. So they play the Japan version. That was the one that had Akuma, but they don't use Akuma. But you played those three main games, right?
Okay.
But those are your old school like games that we will play on a constant basis, and it's in New York. But they go hard. It's so fun to watch.
There's some. I mean,
it's so fun to watch.
It's funny because like what I loved about Street Fighter 2 as a game, because I don't know if there was other. I mean, I know there were other fighting games. I don't know if it was the first or the one. Like I my brain says it's the first, but I could be wrong entirely. But what I love about that era is that after Street Fighter 2 came out, that's when you saw like everybody making it.
There was a ton of clones. Well, the thing is, you had Street Fighter 2.
Right.
You had Fatal Fury.
Yep.
You have Fatal Fury before King of Fighters.
Right?
Fatal Fury is part of
King of Fighters, right? Let's just say the Neo Geo family. Yeah. There's within that also Samurai Showdown.
You did have Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat had its own concept.
Mortal Kombat.
But it was still within that same scene.
Yeah, Mortal Kombat. The way it differed beyond just the way the input style worked, like what it brought to the table was a block button, which is kind of weird and interesting.
Well, it brought the block button, but also it brought the violence.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that's beyond like on a mechanical level, it brought the block button and it did some interesting inputs. Like it didn't do the whole cross circle. It did like down forward.
Yeah, there was more simplistic inputs.
Right. But damn it, if the violence was like, again, the fucking fatalities is ever that's what it brought to the table. And god damn it, if it wasn't amazing just seeing Kano just it's like yes.
And then you had Fatal Fury, where Fatal Fury was more technical.
Yeah.
And it like as a move complex and stuff. So like when doing a super move, you had to do quarter circle forward, quarter circle back, and then forward. And I was like,
well, because that's when he eventually got King of Fighters and everything. And again, but I love all like the non like especially like I think it's like not Time Chasers. I forget what it's called. But it was like this weird fighting game. I don't know if Mortal Kombat came first or this came second or just somewhere. But it was like these like characters fighting from different time periods, and like you could actually like cut off people's arms and like like do sorts of crazy. It's a weird, fucked up game.
No, the only game that I remember where like you were in different time periods and stuff was World Heroes.
No, it wasn't that.
World Heroes was great though. World Heroes was
I mean, again, there are. Talking about fighting games is that, but again, I'm so damn fascinated by it.
I just want my goddamn rival schools back. All right, that is all I've been waiting for. I want a HD version of that or something. I need rival schools back. That game was so much fire. That and Project Justice was so fun. And the thing is, like,
who is it that came out of rival school?
Sakura.
That's what I thought.
Sakura was, but the thing was, well, she was a cameo in that game. That's the thing. She was in Alpha, but when the Alpha series was out, they made rival schools and they put her in that same school or in that same universe. And they have Sakura in there, but then that's when, like, you know, Capcom vs. SNK 2, they brought Kyosuke.
Right, exactly. That's why I always.
But so I'm like, please.
See, that's what I want. I want a Capcom versus. I want a Capcom versus SNK again. That's what
everybody wants the Capcom SNK 3.
I just want. I want that, or I want 2 remade, like HD upified. That's what I want.
I want Capcom SNK as well. I really want Capcom SNK to come back together.
But part of me, like the sick part of me, we got a whole bunch of stuff in the chat room. We got a giant things.
Squad come through.
Yeah, we got Time Killers with the game. Thank you, John Hickey, because that's exactly what I was thinking.
Time Killers, that game.
Yeah,
it already sounds bad. I haven't even played it because I was like more into Street Fighter than anything else.
Yeah, sorry. The chat room just literally refreshed with like a whole bunch of stuff. I apologize if I have that. Like the Facebook chat room, it just like
what up, Barry? Betty home.
But yeah, Time Killers the game. But no, the sick part of me, if they make a Marvel versus Capcom versus like 3, the sick part of me wants them to keep the Morgana.
Which one?
The Morgana sprite.
Oh, the Morgan Sprite.
I love Morgan Sprite so much because
Morgan Sprite did not make sense at all.
Oh, because they literally just borrowed the last sprites. Like
they're like, who should be our special character? Morgan.
What I love about that game so much, what I love about Capcom vs. SNK2, it's that they borrowed
Gal's voice acting.
They basically got that's different. We can put that. That's column B. Column A is that
Cammy's voice.
No, Guile's voice. Fuck Cammy's voice.
No, Cammy's voice.
Guile's voice.
Listen to Cammy's voice. Rookie. Yes, but listen to Cammy's voice. It was so high pitched.
No, don't get it wrong. But having Guile saying, "Come on, rookie."
Yeah, come on, rookie.
like being like the deepest Japanese for like the most American character.
No, because also Geese was in there. You live long death. Like, is Ono in there? Ono-san, did you put yourself in the game? You old cheater. Ono-san.
But one of my favorite things in that game is so. Obviously, when they're making the game, they spend a lot of time in the engine. They spend a lot of time in the mechanics, and rightfully so. They did the right thing.
That was a ton of mechanics.
That was rightfully so. They basically said, okay, what are the cool things from the SNK game lineup when it comes to charge bars, stuff like that? What are the cool things from the Capcom side of stuff and charge bars and things like that? What do each game bring, like parries and perfect defense or just defense and stuff like that? Like they did some fun stuff.
Well, yeah, because you got it. You put three. Yeah, you put 3 different style of games for each one. So you had Capcom's, which was C was Alpha style.
Right.
A was...
It's what people would assume almost now as the typical Capcom. I say like if there is a basic charge bar within a Capcom game, like that's where my brain goes.
C is the first.
Right.
Yeah. A is more alpha based, which was custom combos.
Right.
Then P was Third Strike, which was parry based.
Right. And then Capcom had from their King of had a King of Fighters one.
Well, SNK was
Was it Samurai Showdown? Or was that K?
No, S was Samurai. Or no. K is Samurai Showdown, which is Rage meter. N was one of the King of Fighters setup
with the charges, right?
Where you would use it to power up. Yeah,
and I think you also had like a dash thing or whatever.
Well, all 3 of them had your dashes,
right?
But what it was,
SNK
will always had your dash. But what it was you charged.
Yeah,
you charged up. Now S was based more off of I'm trying to remember what fighting game where when you had low meter you could do supers unlimited.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Not Shaq Fu. No, it's not Shaq Fu. Why would you say Shaq Fu? Oh, that game. I'm still waiting for Shaq Fu 2 to come out because they had that. They had that out.
Man, there are like
there's some bad games. That's hilarious.
but the point being, like that was their technical marvel, and making this kind of cool concept of the millionaire fight. I still love that intro sequence, like to this day. But what I love about that game so much is that when it came to the sprites, because basically what they did, for those who've never played Capcom vs. NK 2, they kind of borrowed the sprites from like the last version that they had in it.
It was Alpha too.
It was Alpha, and it was
Alpha.
And I think they kind of improved the King of Fighter ones.
All the King of Fighter ones were their own new sprites.
Right. And so, but then it came to like, well, we've already...
Zangief was third, or
right.
Zangief was Alpha sprite. No offense, but like Ken and Ryu, which had their own certain sprites, but they were very unique and weird.
But the greatest part of this was that like in the development, everything like everyone had kind of new sprites, and the art style was kind of all over the place because of this. But the great part of that whole entire thing was that they basically said like, well, we need to bring in another game. What are the other fighting games we made? We've already done Rival Schools. We've already done all the Street Fighters. We've done all of SNK's lineup. Who's left? Well, we have that game Darkstalkers. Well, let's just get the key character. Who is that? Oh, Morgan. Okay. Well, does she have a new sprite? No, we haven't made a new Darkstalkers game in years. Fuck it. Put that old sprite in there. Who gives a shit? Then we'll never notice. And you look at the sprite, and it looks completely out of place.
It is out of place.
They just didn't have anything left.
But also, I understand why they only put that sprite in there, because there was an old Shoryuken article about how many frames and sprites they have.
Oh yeah,
just per Darkstalker character. And the thing is, their animations were so much that it wouldn't have enough memory.
Oh no,
like,
it probably there probably were
handle.
limitations. I'm not saying that there weren't, but it's one of those things. I'm like, man.
But that's what I'm saying though. You couldn't.
Well, that's why. Like that's why I was like, my brain would have gone like, why not just fucking redraw? Like my brain goes, why not redraw it? Again, these are questions I would love to ask candidly to that dev team.
Well, and they did say that. Like that's what I'm saying. Read that art. Like
I'll try to find the article.
It's a very old article, but read it and it'll tell you why they couldn't do it in Capcom SNK, because they were like, if we
why not redraw it then?
Well, no, if they redrew it, they would have had to redo the styles.
Okay.
So like when she gets hit with a heavy punch and how she spins really weird.
That's true, I guess.
That alone is so many like animations and frames to the point where it was like, that's why they said if they made a new Darkstalkers on PS2,
they would have had that kind of
it wouldn't handle as much frames because
that's fair. Again, it's one of those. It's one of those like weird.
That game has so many animations.
No,
so many deep detail animations.
No, it's one of those weird. Her sprite is it's fun to play as her character, but it's such a. It's one of those things.
It's very animated. It's very animated, very cartoony.
Yeah, it just looks so out of place.
No, it's not that it's out of place. It's just every detail to every move that she has. It's so rich. Like when you play the original Darkstalker game.
Oh yeah, no.
Every character has a rich animation and style, and like I'm saying, for like every block, every hit, because depending on how they get hit too. All their animations were different. So like it was just like how the older Street Fighters were the same way.
Darkstalkers had a character that as part of his moveset was it Darkstalkers that had the character that could that would force you to change gender like either cheapify or like do something. Was it Darkstalkers that had that? Someone I remember one of the fighting one of those games.
No, you're thinking of Blaze Blue when you had Platinum.
Okay, something like
Platinum is like a guy girl.
Okay, maybe that one. I can't remember what I'm thinking, because I remember that one of those games had like an attack, like a special move that would like transform you to like a weaker thing and then hit you. Or was that Darkstalkers?
No, that was Darkstalkers. So
okay,
Dimitri. So when Dimitri grabs you and like sucks your soul, your body changes into
so I mean, I remember they had those sort of things where you had a lot of these well, shit. Now you got to make a move set for this one. Yeah,
like anybody that gets burned with fire, they get in this burn animation, but they're all like cartoony.
Yeah, and that would have you couldn't have brought that character in. Because you'd have to make that fucking animation for each one of these pieces of shit. Yeah, and that's not in a bad way, but that's just more and more dev time. And more and more things
that's a lot to bring in. Like, hey, let me get hit with like a Ryu fireball, and I turn into this huge flame, and
because they took a lot of like, especially for Capcom vs. NK2, they took a lot of, they utilized the fact that they had a better engine, not just by simply having these polygon 3D background sort of things like they did in like the Dreamcast version of Marvel vs. Capcom 2.
Yeah.
But they also did like a lot of your special attacks weren't sprites; they were bloom effects. They were like actual lighting effects within like a 3D engine.
There were a multitude of effects,
right? Which is why I always like, again, look at Morgan's character is so funny because it's like here's this like weirdly looking sprite compared to all the other sprites, and all her abilities are like bloom effects and like lightning things, and like that's so weird. It's the only character that I ever felt was jarring in a game. But I that being said, I would love another one of like that kind of stuff, especially like
I want another. We want another Darkstalkers.
Well, because
I want a whole like Power Stone.
Well, let's because we're almost out of time. We probably should eventually talk about PAX South.
Oh yes.
But before we do, I'm going to ask you this question. So, only because fighting games are always fun to talk to you about. Let's see. What do we got coming down the pipeline for 2018? We have Dragon Ball. Is that coming out this year, Dragon Ball FighterZ?
No, next year.
Next year, that's what I thought.
So next year around February.
Right. So we have Dragon Ball FighterZ. Z.
So we have Fighters. We have arcade.
Is it Fighters or Fighter Z?
It's Fighters. Please do not say Fighter Z.
Well, that's why I'm wondering why I'm actually asking.
Everybody, well, not you, because I know I had already had this argument with another friend of mine when he was saying it, and I'm like,
because I don't know if there's a space or not. That's why I'm asking.
Well, there's no space.
Okay, then it's
one whole.
Fighters.
Yeah, it's Fighters. It's Fighters. It just has the big Z on there because it's Dragon Ball Z.
Of course. I mean, I know why the Z's there. I just don't know if it's a space or not. Okay,
no space. It's Dragon Ball Fighters.
So it's Dragon Ball Fighters.
So Dragon Ball Fighters. You have Arcade Edition. First Arcade Edition is coming out for Street Fighter V, which they just announced all their new characters.
Yeah, they have
Sakura Cody, the new character G,
and then Sagat.
Flake is the new character, and Sagat is the other character. Wait, there's 6, and then Blanca. Blanca's back as well.
I wonder. Here's the question I'm going to ask you about Sagat. I was going to ask you this on the air because I was going to tell you this in private, but I'll tell you in public because it's funnier. How many people do you think are going to just scream as? How many people are going to scream Sagat was nerfed when they realize he's probably going to be bounced all hell?
Well, the thing was, he wasn't in 5, so he just started.
They basically took the time, like, okay, how the fuck do we balance this character?
Well, no. So the thing was, Sagat, you can beat Sagat in 4.
Of course you can. I'm just. Well, no, I mean, joking.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. No, nobody. I don't think nobody's gonna be complaining. We'll see because people complain.
That's always been the complaint.
Well, no, because like when Nash was finally back, or Charlie, Japanese versus Nash. When Nash came back, like people were bodying people with Nash, and I played Nash. I played Nash all the time, and people were like, he's too good. Nerf him down. And like they nerfed him way the fuck down. And it was like, no, man.
No, that's why I'm more laughing just because of Sagat. Like Sagat is
Sagat was nasty in like original 4.
Yeah. Well, Sagat,
and he was still good in the other games, but like original 4, he was very scary.
Yeah,
but Akuma was the same way too.
Right. Again, it doesn't mean that they're impossible to beat. That no one's, in the hopeful grand scheme of things, no one's impossible to beat. At least in that's the hopeful modern day approach.
Well, there are matchups that are very good, and there are matchups that are very terrible.
Right.
Like for example, Marvel vs. Capcom 3, you never wanted to put Hagar against Magneto because Magneto was broken as shit on that game against Hagar because Hagar did not have the fastest moves and he couldn't get closer. And Magneto had this one move that they put in Ultimate where it was like this magnet thing, and he will push you back, so you can keep pushing him back the whole game.
That's a weird thing to do for that game.
No, look,
only because Marvel vs. Capcom
Storm had it.
Well, I only say like not that move. I mean, having Hagar in that game because Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Out of all the, and that's not to say that other games were slow. It's just that game is all about speed.
Well, the thing is, Hagar is actually really good in that game.
Okay,
like. if one of the players in in Houston, Jan, was known for Hagar because like he would mix up just right, and once you get Hagar like hitting people, the thing is, he wasn't the fastest, but he had damage.
Okay,
and like he's in Infinite, and he does the same thing. But now they gave him one move to help him out for people that are very mobile. He gets a big ass like dumpster can and throws it across.
And I think that's sort of like that's almost people were, and it's funny we talked about it then and we talk about it now, but I start to see now where the logic of why you do the development you do this way when it came to Street Fighter V, almost as a service, not just by introducing new characters and stuff like that and making kind of fresh whatever, but now because it's kind of developed, for lack of better words, in real time, you can do this sort of real quick balancing, which I think is appropriate for that kind of game.
Well, because don't forget, in the past, like when you play, for example, like when you get, if people do buy the 30-year edition of Street Fighter, you'll understand back in the past, we didn't have updates.
Right, exactly.
But arcades did, but people had to come down there to change out the board and give you that arcade perfect version. And it'll tell you at the bottom, like 1.2 point something, but it was an arcade build. But back in the early days, when like Street Fighter 2 came out, you're like, okay, this game wasn't fast enough. It was way too slow. Here's hyper fighting,
exactly. Like
running at 60.
Here's turbo. Here's all this stuff.
Yeah, here's a game running at 60 frames per second.
Yeah, exactly.
But the characters are still unbalanced. Here's Championship Edition, where it's hyper fighting, but it's a little bit more balanced. Right, exactly.
And I think that's what's why, like, look at Street Fighter V, look at all these new characters coming out. Like I jokingly say Sagat that way, just because Sagat has traditionally always been this. Both thematically correct as a powerful character, because like that's kind of the idea that this is a fucking a TIE fighter that is like straight out of fucking like a Jean-Claude straight out of that movie, out of what was the movie, was it Jean-Claude, was it not Seagal, it was Jean-Claude Van Damme
playing Gal,
but not that movie. I'm thinking of like oh shit, it's a death like fighting movie. But again, he's
you're talking about
where they're dipping
Bloodsport.
Yeah, like it's like straight out Bloodsport. This guy, like his character inspiration. Like I'm not saying that's like you could see Sagat, that character in a Bloodsport, as like this is the villain to take down. That's thematically where he's coming from. Not that he.
Well, I mean that's true, because Bison was Mike Tyson.
Yeah, exactly. I mean that's why there are. Not again. Everything borrows from everything. That's not a bad way. It's just this is the era of time. That's why you saw these things that did.
It was racist.
Of course it was. Of course it was. That's neither here nor there.
Why do you think his name was Balrog?
Yeah,
his name was in America they named Balrog, our boxer. His real name in Japan was Bison.
Yeah.
Because it was supposed to be close to Mike Tyson, but they're like, we don't want to get sued with that much money. Yeah. Let's go ahead and switch you up to Balrog.
But again, that's where these characters again came from. Again, they've now had fleshed out a bit and everything else. I mean, that's why you have like Sagat Scar is Ryu doing the
uppercut and chest.
Right. And that's cool. And that's why I know story-wise it can be fine, who cares? I know, but traditionally Sagat has been considered a very, 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 I guess, tier 1 character, we can say.
Depends on what game it is.
But typically,
he was mid. He was mid, and sometimes low tier in certain games. It just It like I said, it all depends. Like what game it was.
I'll say
because like old school, like depending on like, for example, 2 Turbo is a good example. So like if you watch the videos and watch really good tournaments of like the gods playing, like the god players that we call them gods, play. Like they'll play Sagat, but they won't play the Turbo 2 version. They'll play like the Championship Edition or something like that, because he's a better character in that version, and he had better skills. Like Ryu, you would play like the Super version of him because he was better in Super than he was in some of the other ones.
Well, because at that point he would, I think, like
he had a Super bar, but like you had these mixtures.
There were things that added. This is not I guess I don't honestly think now that there is such a thing as like, I don't think fighting games now, like there are certain things, there's certain characters people gravitate towards, and certain things that are movesets people understand quicker or can kind of decode faster. In that, like, if I give you character A, like, let's say brand new fighting game, here's character A with a lot of half circles, quarter circles, full circles. Chances are a player who's played fighting games prior to that would gravitate towards that character. Not because they want to play that, because they understand that kind of moveset. Typically. In that what I mean by moveset, meaning that we're at a point now when we see a quarter circle, you would colloquially refer to that as like a Hadouken or a fireball or whatever. Well, like colloquially, not like it could be a different, it could be a boulder, it could be whatever. But you would say, oh, okay, that's.
I mean, a lot of games now. No, because I would say.
I guess what I mean is that like now there really aren't. There are characters that do more damage per hit, but they're offset by being slow. There are characters who do less damage per hit, but they're offset by being faster. And I think what I'm saying now is that it's less about tiers. Well, I guess I'm not saying tiers. Because I think
it's by tiers.
Well, I guess because then the question is, and this is where I asked that, if it's all about tiers, then why? Because I know Sakura's never been a top tier character. At least
she has.
I don't know. I never.
Capcom is a game too. She's a top tier character.
That for sure. But four, she wasn't really. I mean, four, she really.
Four, she was. Four, she was mid to high tier.
Okay.
Depending on like what, like Ultra, she's four.
I guess what I'm trying to say is that.
Oh, it's still tier characters.
I guess what I'm trying to say is this: any character. Your new, we got a new name by Lewis, which is
thank you,
DJ Refrigerator.
Good job, Turkey Suck Out, DJ Refrigerator. Thank you.
I think what I'm trying.
I guess somebody ain't going to PAX today.
Someone's losing their badge.
Somebody's losing their badge.
No. ain't gonna be me. You best believe it ain't gonna be me. But I guess what I mean is that the idea of a modern day fighting game.
Oh, it goes by tiers.
Well.
Let's look at it.
I guess what I mean by tiers, I mean that at least the illusion. Let's just say the illusion.
Well, the thing is
that anybody is that like.
The thing is, it wouldn't be.
I'll put it this way. If I am good enough with this, is whether it's true or not, this is the illusion at least, or at least the appeal, is that anybody. You would be surprised if somebody won a tournament with what's considered a lower tier character.
Oh yeah.
But there is nothing in terms of how a pro player plays. I mean, there's certain. I mean, like in difference, meaning this, in that this is sort of the joke of fighting games was all made apparent in one of my all-time favorite games, Dive Kick.
Well, Dive Kick is a completely different game.
What I love about Dive Kick is that it basically.
But even Dive Kick has tier characters.
No, of course it does, and it does. But at the end of the day, when it comes to Dive Kick, if I am lower tier character A and you're upper tier character B, if I hit you just that one time and connect, I win.
Yes,
and I think that's where.
But that's not the same. That's the thing.
Well, I know, but I think what I'm trying to say is that when it comes to a modern fighting game, because the only reason why you put different characters in there, because then if not, you just put up to your characters and let it be. But the reason you put these different characters in is because everybody has
a unique concept, it's a unique style. But once again, it does depend on the development,
right?
And who, like, for example, once again, Street Fighter V when it first came out, I played Nash. I like Nash because I liked Nash back in Alpha. And then found out that his inputs wasn't old school charge. They were command inputs like fireballs.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I mean, they changed it.
They changed them.
Yeah, they changed a lot of those, which I was kind of happy for.
As of tier list, he was up there as top tier because of his movesets, his frame data, everything that he did, and he was really good. People bitched about it. Now he went down to mid to low tier. Like, not a lot of people play Nash. But not a lot of people play Nash. People play Karen. A lot of people play Urian. A lot of people are playing Hell, they're playing Zangief more than they're playing fucking.
Well, I guess
like,
from
a lot of people
yeah.
dropped that character because he wasn't that good, and then like the newer character Rashid was a very low tier character,
And now
he's actually up there on one of the high tier because he matches up to every other character.
I guess what I
so it's a very unique.
DJ, yeah, you got a new one.
Trash tier. Hey, I'll use that one.
But
DJ
I think ultimately, at least from a Capcom point of view, and this is the balancing act, honestly, in all online games, whether it be your MOBA of choice, your fighting game of choice, your card game.
Like every game is updating every day almost.
They want to try their best to make sure that every character has the opportunity to win. in that if you have,
like,
in other words, because ultimately it's if you really boil down a fighting game, and this is what makes fighting games I think fascinating, and in general, is that it really is a chess game. It's in that it's finding the right times to do the right move.
It can be, but it could be. I should say it could be, but the biggest problem is everybody would have to have the same skill sets. Everybody has to be the same.
That's the hard part. That's the problem.
That's the problem.
Right. That's the
that would be always your biggest issue.
No, that's the complexity of the game, and that's the thing. But it's the idea that from me as developer point of view, you want to have, or at least try your damnedest. And again, not because players won't find exploits, not because players won't find stuff, they will, and that's the data we gain from you guys and players.
But my thing is this: if I'm playing if I'm at a tournament,
that's why you see, for example, characters go up and down in tiers. Is that people are going, all right, that's not kind of what we want. Cammy to be, or not because of a bad thing.
Well, no, but the thing is people bitching and complaining. Like, for example, we'll say like Mortal Kombat X when Tanya came out. Tanya was literally top tier. She was really good, and people were in tournaments, but it was moves that she had that outbeat so many characters to the point where people were complaining, whining, and bitching. And they're like, okay, so next patch is going to come out in 2 weeks. Let's go ahead and we're going to nerf Tanya down, way the fuck down. And that's what happened. The characters can stay. And like, say if the characters did stay there, but they were like, all right, we're going to update all these characters and fix all this stuff.
Makes sense.
This is what it's going to do. It's just like how they did with WoW, where WoW, for years, like classic WoW, people hated playing against like Warlocks because Warlocks would go,
and that's why.
Fear,
and that's sort of
fear,
why.
fear.
And that's sort of why I say the idea is to not, from a development point of view, to try not to make these tiers. In other words, the idea is to say,
well, it's not them making it. It's true. It's not them making the tiers.
Right.
It's us as a community.
You as players make the tiers because you view it. You find the data.
Yeah, we exploit it,
which is
to
great.
The point.
And then that's when things get balanced as we like to call it in dev world, nerfed to some people because they're like, well, fuck, I like the fact this will help me win.
Yeah.
And it's the idea. Well, no, that we're trying to make this. Again, the idea of it is,
they're trying to reduce it, but then they over reduce and
again,
over gain.
It's a delicate balancing act, and that's why again that will be the interesting to see.
I do give this though, that Street Fighter, instead of doing like patches every like 2 weeks, which is a good thing, they do their patches actually like maybe almost like a month or so after a new character's out.
That makes sense.
So they don't overdo it because, like, for example, Mortal Kombat and Injustice in them, they like somebody bitches to complain after like literally one tournament. They're like, all right, we're gonna do a new patch.
I think we'll leave this as the last thing.
DJ Fearbomb, yes.
We'll leave this as the last thing, and we'll get back to talking about
you job turkey sucker.
Well, it's good to talk about PAX. I forgot what online game it was. I think it was like a like arcadey football-y kind of game on Xbox 360. I forgot what it's called, but it's okay.
Not Blitz.
No. It was I forgot the game, so don't worry about it.
No, I'm trying to get in my mind now.
But
I hate you so much.
It was some type of like multiplayer game. But what I found fascinating was how they did updates. Because so within the online ecosystem of all these sort of things, you have to like when you make a new patch, you have to send it through like CERT and do all this kind of stuff.
Well, Xbox you do, PlayStation you don't.
Right.
So that's a good thing.
Well,
that is a good thing I give for like PS4. PS4 they don't have to go through the Xbox or like their community and like maybe we have to wait like 5 more months.
Right. But this is the 360 days. There was a portion within 360 where you could like have it grab a text file from something. And they kept all their like balance data, and if a game rebooted, it would get the new balance data and kind of stuff like that. It was kind of a weird way of doing it, but I always found that a very interesting way of being able to respond in real time to say like, oh, we can change this quickly and have the player not notice it.
Well,
and again, this is an entirely different kind of game. I don't know if they could do it with a fighting game, but I mean, like,
in their system, in the older Xbox system, usually you would get a notification on that.
Usually, there was a real patch, but it wasn't like it was, for lack of better words, a faux patch. Like, it's a weird way of explaining it. And it was an interesting depth thing. All right. This is we're over time, but we're going to talk for a little bit.
Let's go ahead and get to this.
Let's do it. We'll give us 20 more minutes, and we'll end in that. Let's talk about PAX South, because that's the reason we all have fun chatting with you about anime and fighting games.
We always do this.
You're doing some fun stuff to the PAX South.
We are doing some fun stuff.
True.
I don't know why he's saying you.
That's right. We as you as front man, me as NPC.
I'm not the front man. It's not just me, but it's me and actually Joseph from the guitars from Bitforce. We are actually hosting the MacFest Jamspace, which is.
How does it feel? And I feel I should ask this. How does it feel? Because this is your first time hosting the jams. You've hosted events. You've done events before in other places and like that.
Like the get down, Andre.
Right, exactly. You've done those things in other places. That's all fair and cool. This is the first time you've done
DJ Anime Titties. I would actually do that for any. Like I will have that DJ name for any. Actually, I'm going to IkiCon too. I'll be at IkiCon.
DJ
actually,
Anime Titties. Yeah, I don't know if that.
I know, like. I would switch it out to like DJ Anime Tatas.
Make it silly, but because you've performed at conventions before, you've performed at things like that. You have obviously played before.
Yes.
Is this the first time you've ran like a thing for a con like this at that level?
Yes, for PAX. Yes, something like that at that kind of complete level. Yes,
which is cool. And I honestly, I'm when I'd heard that certain people were not going to be doing what they were doing this year, I was like, oh, okay, well, hopefully someone takes over. And then you told us in the Discord it was you. I was like, that's awesome. Yeah. Only because I'm like happy a friend of mine's doing something kind of new and exciting, and especially at the level that is PAX, because PAX is a well-known convention, and that
especially San Antonio is getting very big. It's getting huge.
Right, and even then it's kind of cool. Like, it's cool to see you being the guy that is working out the logistics stuff. And I think that's. I mean, I'm help out as much as I can. But like it's cool to see friend of mine doing something awesome.
Oh yeah, and I'm very excited, especially working with Joseph from Bitforce. So it's a good combination because we did our show together.
Right. Well, he also does a lot of like the bar. I didn't realize how much bar stuff he did.
Yeah, he did 502 bar in San Antonio, which is great. Yes, I would take DJ No Parking as well.
No, that should be your South by name.
That's my South by name. I don't park in those expensive ass spots.
DJ No Parking.
DJ No Parking on there. Shout out for that.
DJ Hipster. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. I'm loving all these crazy ass names. Though.
Of course,
thank you. Actually, one of our staff members that is online right now.
It's Luis. It's appropriate.
That will be there. Yeah, I actually did hit up a lot of the past members that were staff for the Jam Space, because also they're friends of mine as well.
Yeah,
so,
of course. It's not like we don't know. But even then, experience. But even that regard, it's from me. Like, seeing you do this, like, I'm like, this is awesome, because this is
it is, and it also is ironic at the same time, because I applied for MacFest. And I didn't get MacFest, but now I'm running Jamspace. So it's like, what?
I think it's because MacFest is any convention is I'm starting to now get into pitching panels and kind of learning that process. Is I've pitched one panel, didn't quite get accepted, but that was a learning process in its own right of like, okay, well, now I understand the process of how this
the process is very challenging.
Right, and that's fine. Learning these sort of things are all this is part of a learning experience of that for 2018 for me. And understanding like, okay, cool, I got to make sure to talk to people like 3 months in advance and get them locked for a date, which is interesting because for example, if I could have pitched a panel this month for January, that would have been fine because I would know who would have been there, and I would say, hey, cool, I would love to get you on a panel. But now that it's it's like, no, I wish I had known, And again, it's not even a fault of that. It's these are all sort of things. But when I saw that you're there doing this on a bigger level, and knowing that you've done smaller type things, which is fine.
I did some big things,
right? He does some big things too. But it's the idea that it's the difference between running because you're basically typically you'd have like maybe 1 to 2 night affairs. Especially when it came to like Classic Game Fest, you were there and you did some stuff and whatever, but you're on stage performing, you're part of stuff like that. You are not like, how do I best put it? You're not the one that physically set the stage or stuff like that.
Yeah, well, true.
And that's not even to say that what you did was
MagFest is canceled.
Yeah, it is. This is not to say what you did was out, but what I like
it was canceled when Mega-Ran was not accepted on there. So I think like that sucks. But it's MagFest, man.
For all I know, they could be trying to get new people. I don't know. I don't run MagFest booking departments.
No. Like, even Ram was saying it. Like he was surprised because like he's been there literally multiple years. It's like front of lights always at PAX, like kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like or like me or Dissensions at Eldrick always being there like Classic Game Fest.
Right.
Like
again, I don't run their booking.
Yeah.
I'm not the guy.
We're not saying that. It's a little bit of a surprise.
I don't.
Yeah, no, working at that magnitude, especially like working on sound and everything and trying to get everything set up. I've been pushing pushing everything as soon as possible, and also just making sure we can get bands.
Well, that's why, like you're dealing with like it's cool because I know, at least being part of the NPC Discord, I kind of get an idea what you're doing. Obviously, I don't know the exact specifics.
Oh yeah, no, it's just because I got to go deep in detail.
But even the idea of like you're having to talk to other departments and DJ
consistency,
DJ consistency. But even having to deal with other departments, having to deal with like one of the things that was revealed is where our space is located.
Yeah,
and it's like right by the stairs this year.
Yeah, so
it's like. Now we got to think of noise concerns.
Well, and like I said, we'll find out about that sooner or later. But I will check on that. And like I said, it's a bigger space,
right?
Too.
And the thing is, what I'm excited for you as a friend is that my friend is now, he's already getting good performance stuff, already getting a lot more traction there, which is great. I'm always happy when friends are doing great. What I'm happy for is. Now my friend can put on his resume, especially when it comes to doing other conventions, stuff like that.
Yeah,
I have ran a music space. It's the same thing I had when I talked to Mario Sky Blue.
Yeah, well, it's just like Joseph when he ran Saint Japan. He did Saint Japan. He was on the music space for Saint Japan. So. That's why I looked at it too. Is like, yes, I have the resume under my showing like, hey, I ran the Jamspaces for MagFest here at PAX
and I think that's really, that's cool because again, it's a challenge. It'll always be a challenge. That's neither here nor there. But that's I know personally you're up to the challenge. Yeah. I know personally you will succeed because that's just how you are as a person. But I'm excited to know that my friend is doing this and that like he he can put because all the artists like, I played PAX, cool, but not in a bad way, just like that's.
I mean, and the lineup right now is really good. I'm enjoying the lineup right now.
It's for lack of better words, a good chunk of, if not all. I know there are some people missing from it, but like a good chunk of the NPC.
Well, yes, a very good chunk of the NPC. Also, it's going to be somebody's birthday that we're going to have to clown that whole entire day. But somebody's turning 30 at PAX, and I might be the one getting in trouble for this because I had to tell him that we were doing this show. I'm like, you gotta come in. If you can't, it's all good. You're turning 30. You celebrate with your fiance.
Look, I only have one request. I only have one damn request. I won't say who it is, but can we get the most gaudy birthday cake for said person?
Oh yeah, we got to get the cake. we had to get the cake.
Like the most gaudy, like just the most, like, or
well,
better yet.
Actually, I'm thinking about like getting somebody to do custom artwork for like the cake and actually having him on there, like his artwork, like his one-up kind of style, and have that like really goofy kind of way. So we'll see. I do want to do that, but I still gotta like plan. I still gotta plan out like, hey, I know we're gonna have to eat. You know, I know I probably won't be able to leave. I might get some time here. I gotta still do scheduling.
Yeah.
So like, I know people want to go walk around, look at panels, or do this and this and this.
And by the way, I'll say this just as that, if you need a runner for something, that I'll be there to help out.
Oh yeah,
you can always assign me as runner. Go get this. Runner, go get that. Grab me some food really quick.
DJ cake surprise. Yeah, that's.
I just want like the SpongeBob cake. Like I want someone to go to like.
No,
I
want
the shittiest HEB.
No. I actually wanted to get. I wanted to get Jim. Like the old school Jim.
Oh, well, I'm down for that.
Oh, bright ass, pink ass fucking cake. But we are actually talking about PAX South because I will be hosting PAX South.
Yes.
I will be hosting a Jamspace, so we have some badass artists that are going to be there. We have Bedforts that are going to be playing. We actually have Super Soul Brothers. They are going to be.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, Super Soul Brothers will be performing.
That's right. I got to get the cart fucking signed. That's what it was.
Yeah, there you go. See, we got Super Soul Brothers. We have
I'm not gonna lie. I'm actually kind of excited for them. I love.
They're doing an hour set on Saturday. I will be posting up a event page and all the artists and bands pretty soon, so we can get that okay.
For sure. And what day? Because we're basically like at time. So like, just to lack of better words, when is PAX South?
So PAX South is January 12th to the 14th. We're gonna have some fire there. I can't wait. We got plenty, literally chiptune to video game music, rock bands,
jazz
and also our nerdcore hip hop artists that are going to be there, and somebody's birthday that's going to be really fun.
It should be fun.
They cannot resist playing all day, every day. Shoot, they're ones that ask for. No, they literally asked me for 2 days of an hour apiece. That's
their thing, is that
they want to play hard. They want to go hard.
That's what they do. I'm excited. I'm excited because there's only so many people.
But I did want to plan it out for everybody and give everybody fair game. Yeah. Me and Joseph, not just me. It was me and Joseph from Bitforce. So we were trying our best to make sure that we can get everybody fair game of a certain amount of sound and play. Like I said, the people that are going to have hours will literally be NPC because it's a good amount of people. And Super Soul Brothers and IQ. I got to give IQ one because IQ is going to make y'all feel very salty on Friday. You know how he is. It's like, he's great. I love him. He plays some amazing stuff, but he's going to have that. You're going to have a teardrop or two.
Okay, because salty is like,
No, you're going to be salty like...
We'll say the feels. How about the feels?
You're going to have the salty feels.
Okay,
how about that?
I'll give you that one. No, I'm excited for
you already know. You already know, Louis. That's why we got to do it Friday because we can't have it Saturday. I don't want to have the situation happen like he did me. Don't get me wrong. It was a great set, but then everybody had the feels, and then I had to play my last hour set, and I was like, I don't even know how to come back to this.
You don't.
And like, at least people stayed, but they were in tears, man. And I'm like, thank you, but. I love my hip hop, but god damn it.
This is who I'm supposed to fall. Yeah, you got to leave him at the end. He's
killing me, Smalls.
He's a closer. He's not in both talent.
No, he can do opening and closing. No, because I love him for opening. We had him for South by plenty of times.
I think I'll be honest.
Also, that's another thing that will be coming up. We will be making announcements for I will be making announcements for some South by stuff.
West, we got a lot. There's a lot of rumblings and a lot of discussions of stuff like that. And I'll let when it comes time, we'll.
And actually, I have one more spot for Sunday. I wonder who it might be. I might have to hit him up soon, and I think I might see him on the chat. So,
there'll be plenty of people. Do not worry.
Oh, but we got to have this person on there too because he's fam.
Always a pleasure to have you on. Where can people find you online these days, my friend?
You can find me on Facebook, DJ R.O.C.K.M.A.N, not DJ Anime Titties. DJ R.O.C.K.M.A.N.
Yes, not DJ everything else.
We also have Twitter, VMoney48, and also Instagram is @VMoney48.
Follow.
If you're here in Austin, Texas, Friday night, get down every second Friday with me, Andre Matei, and my boy Jimmy. Bringing out the fire. And also next year I will be bringing back Nerdcore Nights. I know it's been in hiatus for a while, but that's just because we've been doing a lot of shows. But we will bring it back, everybody. Bring those games, those tournaments, and get that stuff popping with the special artists.
Get in time. Of course, you can find me. I'm at Vincent404 in the chat room, Twitters, everything else in between. If you want to catch previous episodes of podcasts, you go to our website, CosmicRadio.TV /8BitLife. There you'll find links to show notes, previous episodes, and of course, after you've given all the money to all the artists we've just mentioned, head over to patreon.com /8BitLife and help the show become bigger, better, and more awesomer. So that's it for today. So next time, we're going to geek about something completely and utterly random. Bye, people.
DJ R.O.C.K.M.A.N in the house.